Today, we are going to completely decode Pakistan's cabinet division using their own official directory as our map. By examining how they categorize their departments, their rules, and their personnel, we get this fascinating behind-the-scenes look at how the state actually functions. We aren't just reading a list. We're analyzing the structural DNA of a government.
To make sense of it all, we're going to break this down into 5 parts: the hub of government, the core operators, the ultimate rulebook, transparency and archives, and finally, the regulatory network. Let's dive right in.
Part 1. The hub of government, or as I like to call it, the front door to the state. You can basically think of the cabinet division as the central administrative nervous system. Operating standard Monday through Friday hours, it's the literal front door for everything from general feedback to processing pensions and handling public complaints. Moving on to Part 2, the core operators. Who actually runs the machine? Because, let's be honest, a government is absolutely nothing without human capital, and this executive hierarchy is neatly organized into some very specific tiers. This chain of command is actually pretty fascinating. At the very top, you've got your federal ministers, right? Followed immediately by the ministers of state. From there, authority branches out into advisory roles, advisors to the prime minister, special assistants, and finally, coordinators. Each one of these tiers represents a very precise level of power within the executive branch.
Now, as you navigate government structures, you're absolutely going to run into the acronym SAPM. It stands for Special Assistant to the Prime Minister. These are our super specialized roles that are carefully designed to bring niche expertise directly into the Prime Minister's inner circle, all without them needing to hold a formal ministerial portfolio. It's a pretty clever way to get experts right into the room where it happens.
So this system also lists some vital economic entities, and it makes a really important distinction between the broad policymakers and the actual spenders. You've got the National Economic Council, or NEC, which steers the macroeconomy. But distinct from that is ECNEC, the Executive Committee, which is the body that actually approves and implements those major development projects.
All right, Part 3, the ultimate rulebook, which is basically the government's operating system. If the people are the hardware, the Rules of Business, 1973, is literally the software. It's the ultimate code dictating exactly how all these different departments interact.
And look, this rulebook isn't just some dusty relic sitting on a shelf. It's a living, breathing document. The federal cabinet was established right at the nation's inception back in 1947, and the core rules were authored in 1973. But to keep the government's operating system running smoothly, these rules have been continuously patched and updated, with amendments extending all the way into July of 2026.
To give you an idea of just how ridiculously granular this rulebook gets, it dictates the exact transfer of authorities, like, say, moving the Public-Private Partnership Authority over to the Privatization Division. It also strictly governs how the state handles memorandums of understanding, ensuring that absolutely every agreement, whether it's with a foreign government or a private entity, follows ironclad protocols. No cutting corners here. Which brings us to Part 4, Transparency and Archives, the Record Keepers. See, it's not just about running the government today. It's about meticulously documenting everything for history and public transparency.
This is where you'll spot a really vital piece of administrative vocabulary, Toshikhana. So what is that? It's a specialized department responsible for storing and tracking all those gifts given to state officials by foreign dignitaries. By publicly housing these records, the Cabinet Division essentially acts as a mechanism for public accountability. And you know, their archival role goes even further than that. They publish the official yearbook summarizing all the annual workings. Plus, and I find this pretty incredible, they maintain the complete, unbroken roster of the federal cabinet dating all the way back to 1947. It's this incredibly transparent ledger that allows anyone to trace the nation's political lineage right back to day one.
Finally, Part 5, the regulatory network, the spokes of the hub. This completely exposes the massive, frankly unbelievable span of influence the Cabinet Division holds over everyday life through its quick links.
Let's just take energy and infrastructure for a second. Through this network, the Cabinet Division oversees NEPRA, they're the ones regulating the actual electricity in your home, and OGRA, which manages oil and gas. Add in NESPAC for massive engineering projects and the NPHDA for national housing, and you quickly realize the executive branch is directly tethered to the physical building blocks of the nation. And that control extends seamlessly right into the digital realm. They oversee the PTA, which controls your cell phone service, and the Frequency Allocation Board regulating the airwaves. They even manage the Special Technology Zones and the National CERT, which is the Cyber Emergency Response Team responsible for the entire nation's cybersecurity. Then we have the financial gatekeepers. The network includes the PPRA to strictly regulate exactly how the government spends its money and the AML/CFT authority to fight money laundering. They even link directly to the SIFC, which is a high-level council dedicated entirely to fast-tracking special economic investments for the country.
But honestly, what's truly surprising is the sheer breadth of what's left. Amidst all these power grids, national security protocols, and high finance, the Cabinet Division also oversees the Pakistan Cricket Board. Yeah, you heard that right. They run the national sport. Add in the highly exclusive Islamabad Club, the National Archives, and even worker welfare, and you start to see a hub that literally touches every single facet of society, from heavy infrastructure all the way to your Sunday recreation.
So, when you step back and look at this entire blueprint, from top-tier ministers and rigid, detailed rules all the way down to regulating cybersecurity, electricity, and even cricket, the scale is just breathtaking. It is a highly complex, massive machine constantly running in the background of millions of lives, which leaves us with one final provocative question to think about. In a system with this many moving parts and layered authorities, who is truly steering the ship? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today, and keep questioning the structures around you.